Hey guys, welcome back to Hillbilly Talk. This is episode 9, and I told you I'm going to quit after I get to 10. So one more, and I'll fill up both ends, and you'll never hear this again, hopefully. Anyway, I was just out tonight. I had this real craving. It was getting late, probably too late to even be eating a snack, but I was just like, man, I'm starving. I want some peanuts. Nothing would do me but salted in the shell peanuts. So I stopped by Dollar General because, well, I shop at Dollar General, yes. I'm a man of means by no means. So I stopped in there and searched the aisles and finally found a bag. And I get up there to check out, and the old gal was like, oh, I love peanuts, but I don't eat the kind in the shell. It's just too much work. And I know it's a relative term, but it just hit me the wrong way. I'm like, so you're so sorry that you can't even crack open a peanut? That's work to you. I was like, good Lord. And I guess I was particularly hit me wrong because I'd worked a full day at the office and then saw my kids and headed back home at about 9 o'clock. And I was like, ugh, don't tell me. And I need to mow my lawn. I was like, don't even tell me about being too hard to open peanuts. So, well, I was the wrong guy to ask on that day. Anyway, I'm going to clear up a few things. I had a few questions and other things that popped up from prior video, and I thought it'd be a good time to address those because I knew it would happen. And this was going back to the coal script video, the one I owe my soul to the company store. Had a few questions that I thought were great, and you may or may not have seen them in the comment section, but I thought a lot of people would probably be interested in knowing the answer to these, so I'm going to address them here right quick before we get kicked off. And it's so this comes from Kess S. I guess it's say Kes S. And it was a question about, let's see. Do you happen to know, Shane, could you buy alcohol and tobacco at the company store? I know a lot of folks could brew their own alcohol and grow their own tobacco, but just curious about whether the script system could channel wages in the direction of healthier purchases. And that's a great question. Thank you. Yes, hopefully I'm saying that right, but I thought that was a great question, and it's a divided answer here. Now, tobacco, well, if you get back to these company stores, they basically wanted you to buy essentials there, food, clothing, in some cases, better ones would even let you buy a heater for your home or whatever, appliances, that type of thing. Now, but they wanted it to be essential, things that you needed to have. Well, believe it or not, back in the early part of the 20th century, tobacco was often considered essential. So yes, tobacco was available to purchase in company stores most commonly. So you could get cigars, cigarettes, chewing tobacco, whatever your pleasure was. But yes, you could buy those. Now, alcohol is a totally different animal because you got to think about it from the company's perspective. Some drinks very well could show up on the job, hungover, drunk, still. It just did not go well. Plus, it was a vice. So no, alcohol was not available in company stores, but commonly in either the county, sometimes the town itself, there would be options for getting alcohol. There would be a liquor store, saloons. Like, for example, Pocahontas, Virginia, which was a major boom town, one of the earliest ones. They had, I want to say somebody said around in the vicinity of 17 saloons at one time. And then you had, of course, the infamous Keystone. We've been selling the daylights out of that book, Sodom and Gomorrah of West Virginia. And but anyway, Keystone was infamous for all of its saloons and brothels and everything else that catered to people with their vices. And it was not endorsed in any way by the coal companies. They don't really actively try to put them out of business, but they also, and in some ways, they kind of turned a blind eye, particularly in the case of Keystone. I've really studied up on them a lot, and the coal companies kind of just looked the other way when it came to that area because, these guys are going to get it some way or another. Might as well just ignore it and let it happen under the radar. So I posted a picture, and I'll try to post it here too, from Welch, West Virginia, where on payday there was tons of miners lined up in the liquor store trying to make a purchase. And you can imagine, it's tough because you hear a lot of bad things about men in those days. A lot of drunkards and a lot of bad temper problems and abusive men. And yeah, I'm not sympathetic to that. But I also understand that these guys breaking their bodies down on a daily basis. Their whole life is based on work, almost no pleasure whatsoever. So to them, getting the alcohol was a little bit of relief. And unfortunately, as we all know, alcohol is not always good for people's chemical balances. So they tend to, in some cases, become violent or in other ways unpredictable and not of a good frame of mind. So yeah, that was the situation with alcohol, but that's it was a tough life. And can you imagine a single man? And if you're married, at least you've got maybe children, you got your wife, you got things that you can take your mind off things. But you go into mines, work all day as a single man, come home, nobody to talk to, nothing to do. What are you going to do to get your mind off of it? Well, blame it on the alcohol or whatever that song was. A lot of guys would take the bottle and gambling and that kind of stuff. There's just ways to pass time and get from one day to the next to get your mind off things. So I mean, it's understandable. Doesn't make it great or the best way of going, but you kind of get an idea of why men would have done that back in those days. So hopefully that addresses those questions. And again, thank you so much for those. Also had a question from Jeremy Cole as far as, could a miner place an order for something currently not in the store? Say something from Sears or Montgomery Ward's had advertised in their catalogs. Now, that did not happen so much, certainly not from the Sears, Montgomery Ward type of things, because of these towns were so remote and rural and very difficult to get to. So shipping, the cost of shipping, the time it would have taken, all those kinds of things were very prohibitive of getting anything outside of the company store's realms. Plus, the company store just flat out wouldn't help you with that anyway. Now, could you order through some of the vendors that the company store is affiliated with? Yeah, if they hadn't have some in stock, you could mention that to the manager and they would have ordered that and have it come in on the next shipment. But as far as having variety or any type of ability to go outside of the company store, no, that was very slim pickings in those days. So hopefully that answers that question as well. Moving right along, so I heard from some people from Richlands, and I'm glad to hear from you guys. Thank you so much. I'm glad you found this channel somehow, and appreciate you guys listening along. Let me see what else, if there was another question on here. It seemed like there was something else. I had a few questions offline. I had an email about collecting scrip and other mining memorabilia, in which a scrip is a very popular one. Some of the more popular things, scrip is probably the most popular thing to collect from the coal mining days, but also the old dinner buckets. Those things can go for some of them $100, $150. 50 is a pretty good price when it's beat up pretty bad, but I've got a collection of those too. I need to share what I do have with you guys at some point, because I used to have a whole lot, but I sold a lot of that off when I had to get money for a down payment on a house, so it went out the door. But I still got a few samples, quite a few actually, but I'll keep adding back to it. I keep saying I have nothing, but every time I turn around, I'm going to eBay and getting something new. So I'll bring some of those out to let you see it, because I feel like there's a lot of interest. Obviously, coal mining history in Appalachia is a micro niche. Is it niche or niche? I used to say niche growing up. Now I say niche. But it's it's not for everybody. But I know the people that are interested in it are very interested in it. So I like to do this and kind of have some kind of history somewhere, because I didn't see anywhere else where you could find out about the script system. And if you do, it's so biased. I mean, everybody's, I don't see anybody that's not just rabidly pro-union, and that's fine. There's not, there's two sides or whatever, but there's nobody who gives any kind of balance or the other side of it. So, and I'm really, like I've said before many times, I'm a truther. I'm a big truth guy. I want you to know how it really was, not from some extreme perspective one way or the other. I like to just say, here's really what it was like. So that I'll get more into that type of discussions. And anything else you want to talk about, I'm more than happy to address these questions. I love when I see something like this. It's like, you know what, I should have mentioned that, and it would have never crossed my mind. I could have done 300 videos and it would have never, ever crossed my mind. Got another question I thought was very interesting. It was, who owns all the land and the houses where the coal camps are today? And is any of that land, lots, or buildings for sale now? I'm supposed to keep up the good work. I just said that. Thank you. And this is from Trump 12024. So, well, in a lot of cases, the houses mostly have been, they funneled out through the companies and ended up selling them to individuals. Several years back, it's probably been 20 years now, maybe longer than that, maybe 30. My mind is, tend to shorten things, but probably was closer to 30 years ago now, where a little place called Trammell, Virginia, they put the entire town, all the houses, company store, the whole 9 yards went up for auction, and they're going to auction them off. And of course it caused a lot of drama, because people had been renting those things for years and they wanted to keep their own home, Well, obviously when something goes up for auction, you don't know where it's going to go. So it was a big to-do, and I'll do another story in the future about that, how that turned out, because it's very fascinating. But anyway, what happened was most all the homes have fallen into private hands, whether that's people that rent them out or people that own them and live in them. So for the most part, the homes have been disseminated among former miners or other interested parties. But the land, I saw a statistic, I want to make sure I got that number right. It was corporations own about 40% of the land and 70% of mineral rights across the coal fields. So that is a staggeringly high amount that is owned corporately. And then there's others, that is owned by people who don't live here. So you're talking about probably about half of the land is owned by people who are not in this area. So it's quite a substantial amount of money. And some of them hang on to it because who knows if the coal comes back and whatever. And some of them have just went defunct. I know a lot of them have way past due tax bills and so forth. But so that's the kind of what happened with the land and the homes. So that pretty well covers the catching up, cleaning up a little bit of the coal camp, coal company store, all that kind of stuff questions. Now, I know there'll be probably more even. I feel like this will be another, there'll be a part 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm very fascinated by it and I love it. I have a lot of passion to talk about it. So believe me, you're not hurting my feelings by asking the questions. I love it. Here's another good question. This also came from Jeremy Cole. And it was, if a miner had a coal stove at home, did he have to use script to buy the coal for his stove? Did the company allow anyone to take some home for their personal use, or did they just simply steal it? That's a great question too. So basically what happened was it was deducted from their pay. I showed a little picture from Pocahontas of where they deducted out like the rent for the home and some of that stuff, and normally it was just deducted from your pay, just like taxes or anything else. They would deduct it and ship coal to your home, and it was just deducted from your pay. So, and in some cases they probably, I don't doubt that they didn't go up there and steal some when they needed a little bit extra once a blue moon. But the problem with that would have been, I don't think it was anything moral, but the fear of getting caught. Because the guards were there watching, and then also, the dire consequence, where you're going to go. Is it really worth a bucket of coal if you stole that versus losing your job and your home and getting booted out with nowhere to go? So kind of a high risk, low reward situation. So most of them just had it taken out of their pay and went on with life. So appreciate that. All right, guys, that'll wrap it up for this one, I do believe. Didn't intend for this one to go on this long. I thought it was going to be just a little short catch-up video, but I like to ramble. So, hey, I am what I am, man. Thanks for watching, though.